Peace, Love, Liberty Radio version 4.1. Initializing upgrades. Accessing peace. Existing without violence, with the ability to calmly resolve conflict. Downloading love. An overwhelming, deep, positive affection towards others. Activating liberty. Living your life as you see fit without infringing on the lives of others.
Ashes to ashes, we're falling down. Slaves to the men that stole the crown. There's a warning sign, like a blazing sun. You don't want to see because you're having fun. But those who control all the information celebrate and lie to the people to keep them watching.
Welcome to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio on FPPRadio.com. So if you are a member of the Fans program, you should have gotten an email. It might have been 2 weeks ago, but you should have gotten an email indicating that the RSS feed, or rather there is an RSS feed for the fans-only content. That would be the ad-free versions of this show, Peace, Love, Liberty Radio, as well as the ad-free version of the daily newscast, FPP Radio News. I got the stuff working properly to where finally the fans-only content will come through the RSS. Unfortunately, all of the previous content is not going to be in the RSS feed because there was some kind of thing to where on Patreon, which is where the fans-only content is generated, or not generated, but where it's stored, they have two upload sections, and one of these sections will generate stuff into the RSS feed. The other section will not. And, because the way my computer, and there's something weird with Firefox that Patreon cannot replicate my problem, but when using Firefox, I am unable to upload the files to the section that generates the RSS feed, so I've been uploading to the other place, although that's since changed since Wednesday because I have installed a new browser, and so, yeah, there's that. And there's just way too much content to go back through for like a previous year and move all of those files to be able to go through the RSS. So if you are a member of the Fans program, and you can join fans.fppradio.com, it's a pay-what-you-want model, but there are certain perks that come at certain levels. So if you hit the $3 level, in addition to the ad-free content, you also get the monthly newspaper sent to your mailbox. But if you just want to donate $1 a month, that's fine. You can do that. Still get the ad-free content. fans.fppradio.com. So let me, before I jump into the story that I have here about why spending time alone can actually wind up being good for you, I have an interesting story to share. And I know some people like these, personal stories. Other people maybe not. I don't know. It's one of those things to where sometimes you hear people discuss various podcasts that they listen to. They're like, they spend the first 20 minutes making inside jokes between one another. That's what, podcasts with more than just one host. And then they wind up, finally getting into some kind of, something of substance. And then other people will say, I wish that, people would talk more about, various personal stuff. I want to learn more about the host. Well, this is one of those. Learn about Darryl's weird, wacky adventure yesterday. So I went to the gym, as I do several times a week. That's not the interesting part of the story. What is the interesting part of the story? After I got done working out, and before I was about to jump in the shower, I, pull out my bag with my clean clothes, and I set my cell phone down, and because I ride a bike around, I'll wear a fanny pack. That way I can put my wallet, my keys, my cell phone all in the fanny pack. And for some reason, and I have never done this before yesterday, for some reason, I put the keys in the fanny pack before I went to take a shower, and I put the fanny pack in the locker, and I locked my lock on the locker. And it's a lock that requires a key. And it was one of those things to where it was in slow motion. It was like the no in super slow motion, where I'm thinking to myself, don't lock this, but my arm was just doing the natural thing of locking. And then I was like, wait a second, I just locked my keys in my locker. And so then I went and, luckily there were a couple other people at the gym. They did not have bolt cutters, but the one guy did have a cell phone that he let me borrow. At first, he tried calling the owner of the gym, who was not there, to find out if she had bolt cutters. She didn't answer the phone. I then called a friend, and he wound up getting in touch with somebody that brought over a pair of bolt cutters. And after about an hour, I was able to then get my stuff out of my locker. So that was my adventure. So I'm now, going to go buy a combination lock. Not one of the old school things like what you used in high school where you've got to spin it to the right however many times and go to the number and spin it to the left to a number and then back to the right to a number. No, I'm just going to use one of those little 3-digit code lock things. And then hopefully don't forget the code. Because, it's a lot easier to, forget a code, especially if you wind up banging your head, as I often do, and wind up having a lot of concussions and short-term memory problems. So that was my weird, wacky adventure. And again, I'm glad there were people at the gym when this happened, because I do like going to the gym when there's nobody there, because then I don't have to worry about, somebody's using the machine that I want to use, or somebody has the dumbbells that I need, or somebody's using this, or, whatever, and then it throws me off of my routine, and then it's just a pain, right? Well, research has actually, and I am, tying this into the actual story, research has shown that spending time alone is actually good for you. Yes, believe it or not, research has shown spending time alone is good for you. And I'll tell you about it here in moments on Peace, Love, Liberty Radio, online at FBO.com.
Hey, this is Michael Dean from the Freedom Fiends radio show. I've been working with computer programmer Derek Slopey to create Fiend Phone. I'm using Fiend Phone right now to talk with and record one of my co-hosts in real time. Take it, Davi.
Hey, this is Davi Barker, and I'm 1,000 miles away from Michael, but we sound like we're in the same room.
We sure do, Davi. So, Davi, please tell the nice people more about Fiend Phone.
Fiend Phone is free, open-source software that opens up a global world of possibilities for collaborative, high-quality remote voice media production, and I'm digging it.
People can try the Windows beta version of Fiend Phone right now at fiendphone.com. But we're also raising money to vastly improve Fiend Phone and vastly improve independent talk media worldwide.
So go to fiendphone.com to help out. Who will build the audio roads? We will, with your help.
That's fiendphone.com. FEENPHONE.com. Foxtrot, Echo, November, phone.com.
Fiend Phone. I never knew remote audio could be this good.
This is Paige Peterson from Made Safe, and you're listening to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio with Darryl W. Perry.
The story comes, as a lot of mine do, from lifehack.org. They begin by saying, our world is more hyper-connected than ever. We have smartphones, tablets, iPods, laptops, and even a few of us have those soon-to-be relic things called desktops. We're so addicted to that is the interconnectivity. According to Pew Research, 67% of cell phone owners find themselves checking their phone even when they don't notice it ring or vibrate. And 21% of respondents reported going online, quote unquote, almost constantly. we're so busy networking offline and online that we have very little time to ourselves. But here's the thing. Alone time does have significant benefits. Now, one thing that I've found myself doing on Facebook especially is trying to clear out all of the notifications. And it's not just up at the top. Yes, you up at the top have the little bar where it's, here's the number of friend requests. I've got a bunch of those that I've still not deleted, but as long as you click on it and go through it, then the number disappears. There's then the messages, and then there's the notifications of so-and-so commented on this, or you're subscribed to this, and they posted blah, blah, blah. But then on the left side of the front page, and also I think it appears in groups on Facebook, here's your favorite groups and pages that you admin and stuff. And all of those will have little numbers next to it. And the numbers annoy me. Yes, I know I have enough pet peeves to where I could start a peeve petting farm. But those numbers annoy me. So I find myself just clicking on the things to make the numbers go away and not actually reading everything that's posted in the various things. So, yes, I'm online, but I'm playing this weird whack-a-mole game with my Facebook groups to where I'm just making the numbers go away, and I'm not necessarily having the connections that some people have. And yet, that's not to say that there aren't people that I interact with. There certainly are. There are groups where I will read every post that winds up being made. But then there are other groups where I'm in the group, but I don't care about every single thing that winds up getting posted. I just don't. That's why I don't subscribe to get notified every time there's a post, and I just rely on the little numbers on the side to know, oh, you've got 7 things in this group that you've not seen yet. And then click on it, and I'll look. Nope, doesn't look interesting. Oh, this one's pretty neat. Oh, and here's a post from 2 months ago that still has comments going on it, and now there's 400 comments, and nope, not reading all of them. That's how social networking is to me. It's this weird game of whack-a-mole, and I don't think I'm alone in that, in believing that social media is a weird game of whack-a-mole. Although I don't know if anybody has ever used that analogy before, but if they have, okay, good. I credit you, even though I don't know who you are. If not, feel free to use it. Facebook, the whack-a-mole of the internet. Well, let's get back into the article about research revealing that it's actually good to spend some time by yourself. Now, if you spend too much time by yourself, and yes, there is such a thing as too much time by yourself, it can have negative effects on you. And what do I mean by too much time by yourself? Well, have you ever heard of solitary confinement? I'm sure you have. If you've ever spent any time in jail, either as an inmate or a corrections officer or some other member of jail staff, you've probably heard the term the hole. That's what they call solitary confinement. You're going to the hole. And you are then separated from other human beings. You are in this cell for 23 hours a day. Some places it's more, some places it's slightly less. But generally it's about 23 hours per day. You get out for 1 hour. During that hour, you get to get some, exercise in the day room, and you also have time to take a shower. Other than that, you are in your cell. The only other human contact you have is when your meals are being given to you, possibly if you're on meds and the nurse comes around to give you your meds. That is the human contact you have. That sort of separation from other people is what I'm talking about of, that long-term alone time can have horribly negative side effects. There's all kinds of studies about that. So if you're just one of these people that, you go to work and then you come home And other than that, you don't really spend time with people. It might have some negative effects, but, for the most part, everybody needs that time by themselves, for themselves. And why? Why do we need that? Well, let's get, again, back into the article. They say, science shows that we actually overestimate how much we need people and underestimate the value of solitary experiences. In essence, it comes down to a PR problem. Being alone has a bad rap. It is often erroneously associated with being lonely or antisocial, both of which are not beneficial to health. Now, one can spend a lot of time around other people and still be lonely. There's a difference between being alone and being lonely. There's also a huge difference between being lonely and antisocial. And there's a huge difference between being alone and antisocial. People who are antisocial, now, most people think that just means somebody that doesn't like being around other people. But the term antisocial actually has a specific definition that, and I'm going to pull this up to make sure that I don't screw it up, but the definition of antisocial is someone who is not sociable, they don't want the company of others, and they are actually opposed to the customs of society and devoid of or antagonistic to social instincts or practices. So it's not just somebody that doesn't like being around other people, it's somebody that hates the concept of society, and they're basically going to be a contrarian.
Cell 411 is a free app for Android and iOS that replaces government-controlled 911. Cell 411 allows you to preset a group of friends or private organizations to show up in any emergency. Cell 411 is a nightmare for the state because it proves their so-called services aren't needed. Cell 411 has had thousands of installs, and of course it's covered by the BIPCOT no government license. Cell 411 because your friends won't shoot you when you're in trouble. Without the government, who would build the emergency services? You and Cell 411. Get it today at getcell411.com. That's getcell411.com.
When you hear the word lobbyist, you probably think about greedy corporations, but not all lobbyists are the same. Some are fighting for the freedoms you hold dear. Liberty Lobby LLC is doing just that in New Hampshire, working hard to represent you, not some special interest group. You can help by going to libertylobby.xyz, where your contribution will give us the tools we need to ensure that your voice is heard. Visit libertylobby.xyz today to find out more.
You're listening to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio with Darryl W. Perry.
Hey, welcome back to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio, online at fppradio.com. Let's actually get back into this article, because I've kept, going off track a little bit, like the little guy at the trolley lever just keeps pulling it. And, well, let's, pull that lever and get back on to the main track here, talking about the need to spend time alone. And, again, I'll back up here. They say that science shows that people overestimate how much we need other people and underestimate the value of solitary experiences. In essence, it comes down to a PR problem. Being alone has a bad rap. It is often erroneously associated with being lonely or antisocial, both of which are not beneficial to health. But being alone is distinct from these conditions, and research is mounting on its benefits to body and mind. For example, a recent study published in the Journal of Consumer Research found that those who forego hedonic activities alone are missing out on opportunities for rewarding experiences. Now, I'm guessing that most of you, when you heard the word hedonic, you started thinking hedonistic, and, well, you would be on the right track. Hedonic means relating to or considered in terms of pleasure, and yes, it's got the same root word as hedonism. However, people that are hedonist, they put pleasure above everything else. So, someone could be antisocial and a hedonist. Those two things are not mutually exclusive. But what are the benefits of being alone? Here are 5 ways that being alone will actually improve your life. Being alone will give you time to rest and recharge. If you're like most people, you are continually overwhelmed by an onslaught of distractions, and a lot of it comes in the form of other people, even if they're not in the same room. Hint, hint, Facebook, whack-a-mole. Yeah, you've got all these distractions. And you also have, meetings, phone calls, text, parties, date night, maybe, if you're lucky. We're rushing here and there, trying to keep the mental Rolodex of our contacts and tasks straight, and everybody needs a break. Being alone allows you the opportunity to settle your nerves, decompress, and regain clarity and focus. Whether it's taking a hot bath, doing 10 minutes of meditation, or just enjoying a few moments by yourself, alone time can help you collect your thoughts and harness the energy you need for the rest of the day. Being alone enhances creativity. Susan Cain, author of the book Quiet, told Scientific American, solitude is a crucial and underrated ingredient for creativity. While brainstorming is often touted as the solution to producing creative ideas, decades of research show that it can actually backfire. People may feel constricted in groups, worry about what others will think of their ideas, or just not be motivated to commit to a deep exploration. On your own, however, whether it's home, in a cafe, on a city street, in nature, you have the space and the permission to open up your mind and discover new ideas and new possibilities. And that ties in with number 3, that you are actually more productive when you're alone. Back in 1913, an agricultural engineer named Maximilian Ringelmann found that individuals put in more effort when working alone on a task. Rope pulling in this early 1900s instance. And again, they put in more effort when working alone than when working together collectively in a group. Known as social loafing, this phenomenon has been replicated in numerous studies in different situations over time. Think about your last group project. Can you remember one loafer you encountered? You probably can. And so it probably didn't help create the best product or the most positive experience for anyone. Interestingly, even when someone thinks they're contributing their maximum effort to the group, studies show they are not. Most of this is due to a loss of motivation, unclear goals, or an inability to coordinate group efforts. Being alone is when you can harness your motivation and ultimately get more done. Now, I've had jobs where, it wasn't a one-man job necessarily to get the thing done. So, for instance, when I worked for the airline, it took several people to load the bags and unload the bags off of airplanes. It took several people to clean the inside of the airplane. It took several people to do most of the things. The tasks that I liked doing the most were the ones where I was able to do it by myself and did not have to depend on anybody else. Now, this wasn't because of, social loafing. It was because I worked with some just really lazy people. I worked with people who would exert more energy trying to get out of work than they would actually doing the job. And that annoyed me greatly, and I didn't want to be around these people. So I would always ask for, hey, put me over here to where I can do this and don't have to worry about, anybody else pulling their weight. I don't have to worry if, somebody is just standing around and then I'm working 5 times as hard or twice as hard or 3 times as hard because, nope, it's a one-man job. Cleaning the toilets on an airplane is a one-man job, and it was my absolute favorite thing. It was the most disgusting, but it was my favorite. There's a little bit more here on the benefits of spending time alone. We'll go through this here in the closing moments of Peace Love Liberty Radio. Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at weusecoins.com. That's weusecoins.com. Why do they hate us? Is libertarianism compatible with Islam? Davi Barker answers these questions and more in Voluntary Islam and Other Essays. He advances the voluntarist cause with analysis of the confluence of values between Islam and libertarianism, as well as contemporary movements from the Tea Party to the Arab Spring. Voluntary Islam by Davi Barker is available from Amazon.com and all major bookstores.
You're listening to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio, online at fppradio.com.
Welcome back to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio, online at fppradio.com. Talking about the benefits of spending time by yourself. It gives you time to rest and recharge. It also can enhance your creativity and allow you to get more work done. Now, let me just sort of recap that before going into the final two things. They say, interestingly, even when someone thinks they're contributing their maximum effort to a group, studies show that they aren't. Much of this is due to a loss of motivation, unclear goals, or an inability to coordinate group efforts. Being alone is when you can harness your motivation and ultimately get more done. Solitude can also boost intimacy. I know it sounds contradictory that being by yourself can make you more intimate. However, they say in religious terms, solitude can serve as a time to be at one with God. And for the 1/3 to 1/2 of the population who are introverts, it's a chance to reconnect with oneself. But psychological studies have found that the benefits of being alone extend beyond introverts and beyond the spiritual. Disconnecting offers a powerful opportunity to regulate our lives and strengthen ties. What's the old saying? Distance makes the heart grow fonder, or absence makes the heart grow fonder. Well, seems that there's actually some research backing that up. They say spending time alone can help you reassess and gain perspective on relationships and supplies a much-needed break from socializing. There's a little bit more here, but I want to jump into number 5. They say you have the greatest gift of all when you're alone, freedom. Any parent will tell you that one thing they miss dearly now that they have kids is freedom. Young college grads will commiserate that although they love their roommates, they can't wait for them to leave for a weekend. Even newlyweds sometimes celebrate when the other is away. Let's face it, the freedom to do what you want, when you want, and how you want becomes rarer as you get older. Taking time to detach, disconnect, and spend time by yourself doing whatever it is you want on your own terms helps improve your mood, create balance, and enrich perspective. No boundaries, no judgment, no negotiating. It reminds you that you are in control of your life and that fulfillment ultimately comes from within. And one thing that I enjoy is doing this radio show and answering your questions. And I do that every Wednesday. Send those questions over to me, ama@fppradio.com. And yes, I will answer anything you ask. This is Peace, Love, Liberty Radio.
The podcasts of FPP Radio are licensed under Copy Heart. We believe that copying is a form of flattery and do not abide by the copyright laws. Those laws serve to restrict the flow of ideas which no one can really own. Copying is an act of love. Love is not subject to law. If you enjoy the show, consider joining the Fans program and get perks like ad-free versions of Peace, Love, Liberty Radio and FPP Radio News, and also get a copy of the monthly newspaper FPP News. To learn more or to join the Fans program, visit fans.fppradio.com.